Hey guys, Sableye here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're here with some more match analysis on the channel, this time of my week 3 NPA set versus Masa, and I say we jump straight into things. So immediately off the bat, I'm not too happy. Kyogre into Palkia is a rough matchup. The only good news is that really Palkia is the only threat for this team as long as I'm smart. Right? Palkia will destroy my entire team, and I've accepted that. But the good news is AV Kyogre can kind of wall it out, and if I max Kyogre, Palkia is not doing all that much damage to it. Maxing Kyogre can survive some Zacian stuffs, can one-shot it back potentially, eats up the Palkia attacks. Landorus doesn't appreciate that, Incin doesn't appreciate that, Gothitelle doesn't appreciate Kyogre all that much. The only thing really stopping me from doing that is Amoonguss, right? Hence where the Zapdos comes in. So Zapdos Kyogre seems to be the key pieces here. Persian was fun, looked fun here as well. I just felt that there might have been a Trick Room mode coming out for my opponent, and if I lead something like Zapdos Kyogre and they go for Trick Room, having Ferrothorn in the back here immediately was better for me, right? Having the opportunity to have something in Trick Room, was better. Obviously, Trick Room I don't think was super likely with the Zacian Palkia core, but there was a threat of it given the fact of how fast it looks like my team wants to be going. So I had to keep that in the back of my mind, but like I said, just going to lock the Zapdos Kyogre, keeping Zacian in the back, because you don't not bring Zacian. Really wish I was play rough Zacian in this case, but unfortunately it is not. It is actually Quick Attack. We went cheeky. We went full cheeky with Quick Attack in this one. But it is what it is. It's fine. Let's get into things. I don't know. I don't know how to word this, right? Because it's a really interesting matchup. I don't think it's it's a tough matchup. I don't think it's the best matchup, but I don't want to call it a bad matchup because AV Kyogre actually makes it very playable. But anyways, besides the point, we'll just call it a 50-50, I guess, which is a terrible term. I hate calling it that. But we are going to see Goth Palkia. So seeing Goth Palkia, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so there's a very good chance this is still Trick Room, right? Obviously, they could just be going for some helping hand stuff, for some fake out stuffs. I figure it's best if I play it slow, don't want to burn my max. If they target Kyogre for whatever reason, Kyogre can take anything. Because I'm AV, I don't really need to burn a max. If they want to max Palkia immediately, go ahead, I'm all for it. Right? If I can save my max for the end game and have them waste their max, Kyogre goes crazy. Right? So that's the game plan right now. I don't want to max Zapdos because I could easily get Helping Hand Max Geyser. Now, in all honesty, I gave this Palkia the rain. Zapdos probably just dies to Max Geyser anyways. Doesn't even need the Helping Hand at this point. So I just go for the humble Hurricane here. We're in the rain. It potentially gives me a chance to stop Trick Room if they fake out Kyogre. Gives me a Hurricane. Maybe I get a confusion. It's something at this spot, but we do see the Max Palkia, which is very nice for me. Obviously, could have capitalized on that a little more, but nothing too crazy right now. So gonna see Zapdos go for the Hurricane, looking like I'm either faster or this is max speed tie. I'm content with this right now. Actually no, what am I saying? Zapdos is just faster, no? I think Zapdos is just faster. His Palkia is only base 90. Either way, Zapdos is faster here, confirmed. Or at the very worst case scenario, speed tie. But anyways, Zapdos is dead. So that stat line really doesn't matter at all. That does not matter at all. But like I said, that's why I didn't want to max it. Right? If I maxed Zapdos there, I was in a lot of trouble. But as we see, this Gothitelle is actually indeed max speed. And apparently max speed Gothitelle, which is an oversight, I think, on this team, or just something that you don't really consider when building, is actually faster than my Kyogre. So, yeah, that's concerning. And this is where I wish I had Play Rough. Because if I have Play Rough here, there's not a whole lot my opponent can do. They have to kind of go for the ally switch to save their Palkia. Right? Now, I'm surprised they just said, hey, he's not going to have Play Rough and didn't bother going for it, which you'll see in a second. But it is what it is. I mean, maybe they knew the taste and they knew I didn't have Play Rough, which is very possible. But regardless, we're going to see, just go Behemoth Play here, get some damage off into this Palkia, get it as low as I possibly can. Like I said, late game Kyogre max is the win condition here. I wasn't going to leave Palkia at full health, because once that Palkia goes down, Kyogre wins this game. Max Geyser, just going to drop my Zacian. Basically, Water Spout will kill now if I can dodge a Hypnosis, which is what I'm going for here, right? I know I dodged the first Hypnosis, but regardless at this point, I'm either dodging it or burning a turn of sleep, all in the same turn, right? So they do hit Hypnosis, which is a little rough, but you're gonna hit your Hypnosis, right? If you're gonna sit there and click the button, that button's gonna work eventually, right? So you know what? We take those. We burn a turn of sleep, which I think is okay, and Ferrothorn waltzes on in. So this is where things get scary. I have to protect Ferrothorn, which I think my opponent knows, but I can't risk it. I'm not gonna sit here with Ferrothorn and take a Max Geyser in the rain to the face. There's zero reason for me to do that. Here I hover over O-Pulse, which I think is wrong. I should be Water Spouting. The Life Orb chip on Palkia will put it into range of Water Spout if I get the chance to, and Goth is definitely in range of Water Spout. But like I said, I have to protect Pharaoh here. Nothing crazy there, and they do correctly go for the Wormwood into Kyogre. That's just the right play, right? You know Ferrothorn has to protect there. They call that very easily. They realize Kyogre's the mon they need to bring down. Thankfully, it does less than half though, because AV Kyogre kind of broke it. Palkia does hang on after that Life Orb chip, and the Hypnosis goes into the Ferrothorn protect. And I'm fast asleep. Would have been nice to wake up there, but I don't think it was necessary. So now it's one of the things I have to set up Ferrothorn for the end game. I have to get an Iron Defense up. Well, I don't have to, but I need to try, right? That's the attempt right now, right? If I can get the Iron Defense up in front of the Zacian, maybe Body Presses, by the time it comes on the field, they'll live a Sacred Sword Body Press and kill. Right? You never know. Right? So I go for that, and once again, it's a Water Spout spot. If they try to switch, they're going to switch into a Water Spout at 50%. They're both in range of Water Spout right now. Palkia is actually going to die to its own Life Orb in a minute if it decides to attack. So at this point, it's simple. It's a simple Water Spout. No need to risk the Dynamax right now to wake up. Did I really Origin Pulse? No, I definitely spouted, right? Ryan, spout. Okay, good. I spouted. Okay, I spouted. But basically the concept here is I'm trying desperately to see if maybe Kyogre can wake up and get this to an endgame where it can max and kill the Zacian. So thankfully I'm surprised with this one. And I'll tell you why I'm surprised by this in a minute. Because it'll become I think it'll become a little bit more obvious. And Goth is going to click that Hypnosis, and immediately they're going to go all in after Ferrothorn down. I was really shocked they didn't just chip Kyogre down a little bit more. Anyways, Water Spout's going to pick up that Goth attack, but I'm expecting that Palkia to chip this Kyogre here. So that was the first questionable play I think my opponent made there. I think you have to chip Kyogre, just to guarantee that I actually am in range of anything from your Zacian in the back, because you're probably Play Rough, which is fine. But if I Dynamax, I'm not dying to the Play Rough, and I don't think Behemoth Blade's in this range anyways. Obviously, maybe they're thinking, I don't know, knowing I'm slower than your Gothitelle, you have to assume I have both. But besides the point, the main reason I think they did that though is because they actually do not have Sacred Sword, which is revealed later on. But mainly on this turn, it's revealed that they don't have Sacred Sword, or very likely that they don't have it. So Ferrothorn actually ends up being in a very good position, which is why they were going after it so much. But go for the Iron Defense in case I wake up. And I have to Dynamax on a limb here. On a whim, I guess it's just better phrasing. But it doesn't matter. I have to Dynamax. I have to kill Zacian. So now my opponent has two plays. My opponent can either Rage Powder, start targeting down this Kyogre, and pick it off eventually, or protect and put this Kyogre to sleep with a Spore. Those are the only two options that are going to successfully win my opponent this game. And at least that's what I thought, right? Because I still don't know. There's no Sacred Sword here. See, because this gets interesting, so I'm just going to, rather than commentate what's happening, I'm going to commentate what the general thought process here, right? So maybe my opponent, like, no way, let's say now, perfect world, I know they don't have Sacred Sword, and they know, obviously they know they don't have Sacred Sword, right? So they're going after Ferrothorn here, right? Because they can't kill Ferrothorn at all at this point. They have to hit into Ferrothorn here. They clearly can't kill it. So when I saw the Behemoth Blade go into Pharaoh, to me it's, hey, my opponent more than likely does not have Sacred Sword here. His Sacred Sword, even if Ferrothorn Dynamax here, Sacred Sword I believe was doing more. But anyways, we're gonna get the Max Geyser into Zacian, no Rage Powder. See, I don't mind going after Ferrothorn if you're gonna Rage Powder to keep your Kyogre alive, to keep your Zacian alive. right? Because Pharaoh has to take a turn of sleep there. You Rage Powder Amoonguss tank stat. Amoonguss tank stat, you get to see the Ferrothorn. You saw it, dude. I was gonna die to another Behemoth Blade, right? And then you're in a spot where you just Rage Powder again and you kill the Ferrothorn. Obviously, I try to wake up and protect at that point. But I think Behemoth Blading the Ferrothorn from my opponent was correct, because they correctly analyzed that, hey, I can't kill this thing. Right? That was the mon they needed to kill, and they got that right. But the problem was they just said, I'm going to ignore this Kyogre entirely and let it take out my entire Zacian. Like, which I think was costing them that game there. If they Rage Powder, keep their Zacian alive, Behemoth Blade my Ferrothorn, it forces me into a slot where Ferrothorn has to protect on the following turn to gain enough health back. And then from there, you just Rage Powder, Behemoth Blade my Kyogre. And then everything's at like 2 HP. Yes, I've taken out the Amoonguss at that point, because I'm pretty confident in 2 geysers picking that off. So let's say I take out the Amoonguss, Zacian versus low HP Kyogre and a low HP Ferrothorn. Had I woken up and I would have gotten an Iron Defense off, Ferrothorn wins that endgame. If I don't wake up and I don't get the Iron Defense off, Kyogre... Actually, you know what? No, I'm incorrect in assuming how those turns would have played out. What should be happening... I love how my yellow highlighter thinks it's a green screen, which I think is kind of funny. But anyways, besides the point, what I'm going for here is basically, I think they have to gamble on the sleep turn. They have to hope my Ferrothorn remains asleep so that they can Sacred Sword it. Because what basically happens is they get the second Rage Powder off, Kyogre takes out the Amoonguss. If Ferrothorn stays asleep and Zacian goes Sacred Sword into Pharaoh, and they get it, Pharaoh goes down, their Zacian is still very, very healthy, Kyogre protects. Kyogre then goes for another Max Geyser into the Zacian Protect on the last turn of Dynamax, and then from there it's basically all they have to do is hit a Play Rough, which is the winning line at that point. But I don't know where the Rage Powder was. Like, despite not having Sacred Sword, I think they could have won that given sleep turns had they just Rage Powdered, which is kind of interesting that they didn't. Like, I'm really shocked. But I mean, we're gonna take that, and now we can utilize that information in game 2, right? So now it's one of those things where Ferrothorn isn't coming in case they bring Trick Room. Ferrothorn is coming because it literally denies half their team if I get an Iron Defense up. Actually, probably more than that. Everything but Palkia, right? Because if I keep Ferrothorn in rain, I don't really care about the Instant. Right? Ferrothorn just kills in the back. I debated once again bringing Persian here. Maybe going like Persian Zapdos, trying to get cheeky and killing this Palkia immediately. But then I'm going Persian Zapdos and Ferrothorn, and then I don't have AV Kyogre. I either don't have Kyogre or I don't have Zacian, and I needed both of them. And Ferrothorn I wanted as well. So, and then bringing Persian without Zapdos didn't make a whole ton of sense to me. So, figured I'd just stick kind of with the same thing, maybe change it up a little bit and go from there. Once again, I'm still a little concerned of Trick Room, which is probably why some of these plays, my early game may not make a lot of sense, right? But even the thing is, I know I misplayed in game 2 here. I know I misplayed turn 1 game 2. I'm gonna let it out. I'm assuming a lot of people have seen this set already. It was analyzed by Joe on the NPA stream the other night. So like I said, I'm assuming a lot of people have seen it already. But like I don't know, I still felt the need to analyze it, throw it on the channel, get it out of the world, get my thoughts out on the game, you know, stuff like that. But they're actually gonna go with the same lead, and to me this means chances are they have the same back, right? I opted to go with Zacian this time as a lead because I felt like it just put on immense amount of pressure. Double Protect was an option here. Decided not to do it because I'm like, if I just double Protect and they Trick Room, I'm in a terrible spot. And now I figured, okay, since I'm Quick Attack Zacian, if they go for the Trick Room and I protect Zacian, I can Quick Attack, chip this Gothitelle down into Quick Attack range, and go for Quick Attack and take it out. Granted, it was a very bad play, right? Like, I should just be double protecting here to stop fake out pressure. That way I can just double Gothitelle on the following turn and pick up knockouts. But, like, you know what? I opt for the Max Lightning because it's going to stop any sort of hypnosis in the end game. Obviously not on my Zapdos, but it's going to help out my Kyogre, my Ferrothorn, my Zacian. Just going to keep those pieces alive a lot longer and allow them to actually attack here. I don't think this was the best play. Right, Airstream was super nice here as well, but once again, I'm still a little bit scared of Trick Room. But then again, I don't know why I'm scared of that. Why not Airstream? right? It's one of the things where I can airstream and start getting massive speed advantages here, but the thing is I already have a speed advantage. I might as well stop the hypnosis. Anyways, they're gonna Dynamax Palkia immediately, so at this point I'm like, okay, they're probably not going to be clicking Trick Room at any point in this game. But here's my scenario. If they still attack Zacian, which has to be a threat, right? Like, how are you not threatened by Zacian? Anyways, I protect it. May have been slightly obvious, right? Like, I can't afford to lose that piece, and I think my opponent knows that. I go for the Max Lightning first, get some big damage up here. Gonna go into Gothitelle, big time damage. And obviously, unfortunately, I do not get that knockout, which is a little bit sad, but it is what it is. And Palkia actually correctly targeting down the Zapdos here, which is a little scary. Now the question is, where did my opponent go for this Hypnosis, right? Because if they go for the Hypnosis in the Zapdos here, this is very scary for me. I almost think it's an auto loss at this point. This is why this was a bad play, right? This was a bad play for that reason entirely. If I am not paying enough attention, like, okay, not paying enough attention, but if I give them the opportunity to hit that, and I'm not taking out the Gothitelle because I'm scared of fake out, that would have been detrimental. And that's what I played into right there, which was wrong. Like, yeah, I can say whatever I want. Let's say Hypnosis hits. I can say whatever I want. Oh, he hit a 60% Hypnosis, but I played into it, right? I played straight into that Hypnosis hitting, and thankfully I got bailed out. Right? There's no other way to phrase that start the beginning of this game. If they hit that Hypnosis, I think I lose. Yes, I got aggressive because I was up a game, but I think it was an unnecessary aggressive play. They are going to ally switch. I figured it was coming, which is why I split the damage rather than just doubling the Palkia. And especially because if I double the Palkia, they max guard, and then, like, it just seems safer to split my damage. So Behemoth Blade ends up actually going into the Palkia here. Because I wanted to airstream the Palkia, I felt like it would do more. But I mean, maybe it would have done around the same amount. Either way, the point still stands. I get the airstream up here. And I'm actually shocked at what happens next. Is they actually kill my... I guess maybe it's not that shocking. I guess they have to kill Zacian. Right? They do end up killing Zacian here. But like, my brain said, oh, they're gonna kill Zapdos here. Just take it out. But I guess it makes a lot more sense to actually kill Zacian here. But I don't know why it's not a max quake if you're gonna kill Zacian. That's my new concern. Where's the max quake? Because if you're killing Zacian there and you quake, Zapdos is no longer a threat here. You know? Anyways, I go Kyogre now and I just start going Airstream Water Spout. And this is where this game gets out of hand. Still not over, don't get me wrong, but at this point, the Palkia is super, super low. You've got to assume a Moongeese in the back, because if it's instant, I don't care. If it's instant, I don't care. So you've got to assume either the Amoonguss comes in right now, which is just going to take a big Airstream, or has to protect and does nothing out of that. But it can't afford to protect, because if I target the Palkia, right, they have to preserve Palkia. And their best way to preserve Palkia is to bring in either Amoonguss or their own Zacian to try and start doing damage. But Zacian's just going to get smacked up by an Airstream. Well, by Airstream plus Kyogre, right? So they can't afford that. I'm expecting Amoonguss here. Cue the Amoonguss. Okay, so we get that right. That thought process was correct. And now, like I said, they cannot afford to protect you. They cannot afford to protect the Amoonguss. I cover for that. I already have the Max Lightning up, which ends up being a nice play, which is nice to have up because I don't have to worry about Spore going into my Kyogre, right? So even if they max guard, I guess their best play would have been max guard and Spore Zapdos. Would have been their best play, right? But once again, I don't think they can do that because if I just double Amoonguss, like, I forced their hand, and their safest play becomes to Rage Powder, and I know that, so I can safely target Airstream into Palkia. They're not going to guard that slot, knowing that I know their safe play is Rage Powder, right? So they should be Rage Powdering here, and knowing that, I can safely just double Amoonguss if I wanted to. I didn't because I felt like maybe there's an off chance they try to protect the Amoonguss and maybe pivot out of this, which I think is a fair play as well. But Airstream through Cobra Berry still does like 70, 80%, which is just ridiculous. Like, Dynamax is just broken, guys. Like, that's not okay. You know, like, I don't know, as a very defensive player, that's just not okay. But either way, we're going to get some decent damage out of that. And this is a big old water spout right now. Obviously going to do next to nothing to Palkia. But imagine if it quaked the turn before. It would have been taken even less. But it doesn't matter. We're going to see the big time damage out from this Palkia right now. I'm going to go for the Geyser. Which, once again, here I'm talking. I don't know. I don't know if Zapdos is still the threat there at that point. I don't know if Zapdos is the threat there. Like, you've already lost your Amoonguss. Your back one is Zacian. You're saying you'd rather leave a full health Kyogre on the field? Zapdos, I guess Zapdos kills Palkia, which is a concern. And still does a lot of damage in general. So maybe it is the better play and you're actually getting a knockout that way, which I guess is fair. But I still don't know if that's really the threat. But I think that's almost a pin that I had them in. Right after those first few turns, it's almost as if they were pinned. It was a terrible play on my end, but I got bailed out. Like, I didn't account for the Hypnosis going into Zapdos on that turn 1. Right? Got lucky in it not connecting. But it put me in a very good spot. However, it was a very risky play for me to make. I'll get that phone later. Apologies for that. But Palkia is going to protect you, which is correct. And here we've seen my that Gothitelle was faster than Kyogre. So I'm pretty confident this Kyogre at +1 is not going to outpace this Zacian. And I think my opponent knows that. I was going to potentially Water Spout, but I couldn't. So I go straight for the Thunder into the Palkia there. Just trying to tip it down. If Palkia goes down, we know this Zacian has a very high percentage chance of not having Sacred Sword. Right? It's not confirmed because they could have just been bluffing it, maybe thinking they were in a bad spot. Anyways, in game 1, who really knows? But I have to be smart, and that's my thought process right now. Okay, they do not have Sacred Sword, so I go Iron Defense. I try to kill Palkia as soon as possible, and they now have to focus 2 turns with Zacian into Kyogre, allowing me to get boosts up here. So I Iron Defense the first turn. This time now, since Palkia just protected, simple double attack Palkia. Make sure it's off the field after this turn and have Ferrothorn win this game. Correct Behemoth Blade from my opponent. Make sure they don't miss a play rough. Behemoth Blade from this range will be picking up Kyogre every single time without fail. Goodbye, Kyogre. But this is, I don't know, this is why, let this be a lesson to always put Sacred Sword or a fighting move in general on your Zacian. We get lucky there with the Hydro Pump miss, but we saw that Hydro Pump only did half, just over half in game 1, which is still a ridiculous amount of damage. But doing just over half and having Ferrothorn at +2 defense here with no Sacred Sword on Zacian, the game was over at that point anyways, even if that connects. Which I did feel like pointing out, but at this point it's simple. Do they have Sacred Sword or not? And like I said, I played the entire game that they wouldn't. If I Iron Defense here and they have Sacred Sword, I actually lose. So what I do is I go for the Body Press. Maybe I can crit a Body Press if they do have Sacred Sword, or maybe Body Press plus Sacred Sword plus Iron Barbs plus another Iron Barbs will kill or something along those lines. But they do just go straight for the Behemoth Blade here, which to me means, hey, there is no way I have Sacred Sword right now. So Ferrothorn's gonna gobble that one up, get a big old damage of Iron Barbs off, and then a Body Press to put it well over half damage, and that should just seal this one. It was a very, I don't know, I want to say I got lucky in this match because I definitely did. I'm not gonna take that, I'm not gonna hinder that away, but I also think my opponent misplayed a little bit. End of game 1 for sure, which gets interesting. That probably comes down to Ferrothorn sleep turns if they start Rage Powdering and make that end game correct. But here it's just have Sacred Sword. I could have scouted in case they wanted to Behemoth Blade and then go for a Sacred Sword after, but I felt like I was just gonna live a Sacred Sword from the health that I had anyways, so it didn't really matter to me right there. We're gonna get the Iron Barbs chip. Body Press is gonna finish this one off. But like I was saying, it was a very good game. Like, it was interesting. I still don't understand the no Rage Powder or no Protect Spore in that endgame. I get you don't have Sacred Sword to hit Ferrothorn. So Behemoth Blading to Ferrothorn in that game 1, I think was just correct every time. Right? I 100% think that was correct. What wasn't correct is just letting your Zacian die in exchange to do that, which makes no sense to me at all. I don't know where the Rage Powder was. I don't know where the Protect or the Spore was. I think Protect Spore was arguably worse than just Rage Powder, Behemoth Blade, Pharaoh. Right? But it is what it is, guys, and that's going to be it for the analysis here. I think it was a well-played game on both ends. Like I said, just that the one turn that confused me so much was the no Rage Powder, and I think that literally won me game 1 very clearly. And then obviously game 2, that once they revealed they didn't have Play Rough, once they revealed they didn't have Sacred Sword, I had 2 games because they threw. I had 2 games to say I gotta find a spot where I can get my where I can kill Palkia and get Ferrothorn into position, and I had 2 games to do that basically, which was really, really nice. Whereas the other way around, had they not misplayed in game 1, it becomes a little scary, right? Because basically I have to find a way to do it without having the luxury of seeing how one of the next games plays out, right? Maybe they had an adaptation for that, right? Maybe they weren't sure I was going to bring Pharaoh Thorn, right? So if they win game one, do they go aggressive after Pharaoh in game two? You don't know. But thankfully I did take game one. But we are going to take this set, which is very, very nice. Happy to actually analyze a win on this channel. I feel like I haven't done that in a while. But yeah, but more importantly, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you do enjoy this content, feel free to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And I will catch you guys in a future video.